Right, buenos dias. Today we are going to be reviewing Spanish 1 and 2. This is going to be like multiple videos, so don't get overwhelmed. We're not going to do all of this stuff within one day. All of this review will take us at least 2 or 3 class periods. Some of the stuff you're going to be like, oh my gosh, Miss Hager, are you really covering this? Again, we're in Spanish 3, but that's okay. Just roll with it. All right, first off, articles. Words that end in loners are generally masculine. So if it ends in L-O-N-E-R or S, it's generally going to be masculine. If it ends in D, the letter combination I-O-N-Z, Z, or A are generally feminine. There are exceptions to this rule all the time, so make sure that you're memorizing the gender of the word. Your definite articles, the ways that you say the ways that you say a, and some, your indefinite articles, as well as your adjectives, have to match the noun in number and in gender, so that's why it's really important to know your articles. Okay? Again, strictly grammatical gender. It doesn't have anything to do with sexuality or physical gender or anything like that. It's just a grammar thing. The ways that you say the are el, la, los, and las. The ways that you say a or an are un and una, and the way that you say some are unos and unas. The primary difference between saying the versus a, and, or some, if I say, like if James is writing on the wall, and I'm like, James, give me the pencil. I want a specific pencil. I want the one that he is using to decorate my house with. Okay, whereas if I'm just like, somebody give me a pencil, I don't care which pencil you give me as long as I have something to write with. Okay, so definite is talking about a specific thing. Indefinite is just a little bit more vague. Okay, to make a word plural, if it ends in a vowel, you add S. If it ends in a consonant, you add ES. So if it ends in an S and you're trying to figure out the gender of the word, look at like a couple letters before that. Is it ES or is it AS or OS? Like use that to help you. If it ends in a Z, you have to change the Z to a C and then add ES. The letter combination ZE cannot exist in Spanish, okay? So anytime you have ZE, it's spelled wrong. Okay, our subject pronouns. I really, really hope all of you know your subject pronouns. If not, Spanish 3 might be a little tricky for you. Might be more than a little tricky. Okay, this chart, you've seen it a million times, I hope. It's divided into singular and plural. It's divided into first person, second person, and third person. Okay, so if you're ever not sure which subject pronoun to use, think about how your chart is set up, or which verb form to use. Think about your subject pronouns chart. Okay, so I is yo. The informal you is tú with an accent mark, otherwise it's your. The formal you is usted. He is el with an accent mark because the can't do anything, but he can. And she is ella. Okay. You may have heard the double L pronounced as a j, particularly if you had Senora Durner. In like the western coast of South America, they do tend to pronounce that as a j. Whereas like in Uruguay and Argentina, they pronounce it more like a j. It's very regional how that double L is pronounced. Neither is more correct than the other. It's just different. Just like people in Boston sound different from people in the Midwest, and they sound different from the people on the West Coast. Or like the difference between English from England, English from South Africa, English from Australia, English from the US, they all sound different. Same thing. Okay, to say nosotros, or to say we, it's nosotros. Or nosotras if everyone in the group is female. To say you all or y'all, it is vosotros or vosotras. Again, if it's all females, it's the only time that you can use vosotras or nosotras. Vosotros is only used in Spain, but we can't talk about Spanish without talking about what they do in Spain. It's kind of, where the language came from. Vosotros is not used in Latin America. In Spain, vosotros is the informal y'all. Okay, it's the informal group pronoun. In Latin America, they don't distinguish between formal and informal when they're talking to a group. In the way that let me start over. To say y'all in Latin America, or to speak formally in Spain and say y'all, it's ustedes. So like if you wanted to speak to all of your teachers, you would use ustedes. They will understand you if you use the vosotros, but they might look at you weird if you're using the vosotros in Latin America. I don't have a preference on which one you use. If it says y'all, if it says like Spain or SP in parentheses, that means that I want the vosotros form. Okay? To say they, it's ellos. To say they, if it's all girls, it's ellas. This should look really familiar to you. I hope it does. If it doesn't, make some flashcards ASAP. Okay, let's talk about present tense verbs. Present tense verbs. I'm looking at my notes off to the side, by the way. So when you conjugate a verb, I don't think I have this on your notes page, but you can write this off to the side. This is probably something that you should know. You use the steps, you figure out the stem, you drop the ending, and then you add your new ending. Okay? So all of our verbs in Spanish end in either AR, ER, or IR. When you conjugate a verb into the present tense, it can mean the subject verb. So for example, hablo can mean I talk. It can mean the subject is verbing, I am talking. Or it can mean the subject does verb, I do talk. Okay? The way that you're going to translate that will depend on the context of the sentence. Okay? This number 3, this one right here, you might put a star by, highlight, make a note of that because Spanish does not use the helping verb when we ask questions. So we don't ever need an extra word for do or does when you're asking a question. Like, do you speak Spanish? It's just going to be hablas español. I don't need that helping verb. Okay? By now you should know that an infinitive is a verb that's not conjugated, and you should know that an infinitive in Spanish will end in either AR, ER, or IR. AR verbs end in as, amos, ais, and on. The vosotros form in the present tense will always have an accent mark on this first vowel. Don't put it on the I, put it on the A. When I'm grading things, if you miss an accent mark on a verb, I take off the entire point. If you miss an accent mark on a vocab section or on on a vocab section or on a noun, I take off a half a point. If you mix up the gender on a noun, I take off a half a point. Okay, so just a few things. But if you don't have an accent mark, it's a spelling error. Take off a half point unless it's a verb. If it's on a verb, you miss the entire thing. Okay, so you should know these. As, amos, ais, on. Down below on your notes, you have some practice. You have some sentences. Go ahead and put conjugate the verb in parentheses there and then translate each sentence, or make sure that you can translate the sentence. I'll leave this on here and then hit pause, fill it out, hit play, check your answers. Okay, number 1, ella estudia inglés. She studies Spanish. Number 2, yo bailo mucho. I dance a lot. I don't actually. Number 3, hablamos por teléfono. We talk on the phone. Ellos usan la computadora durante la primera hora. They use the computer during the first hour. ¿Quién necesita? So for quién, it's not yo, it's not tú, and we know it's singular because it does end in S, so that means that we have to use the he, she form. So who needs a pen? Number 6, there should be a question mark at the beginning of that. Sorry, I forgot that. Montas en bici mucho? Do you ride your bike a lot? So this is where you would translate it as do you. Number 7, dibujan. I said that weird. Dibujan. I put the stress on the in a weird spot. Y'all draw very well in art class. Number 8, nosotras patinamos hoy, no? We are skating today, right? That's where I would put it like as that is or are verbing. Okay, we are skating today. Anytime you see this no in question marks, that's just asking for confirmation. That's like we're doing this, right? Number 9, el profesor enseña la lección. The teacher teaches the lesson. And number 10, tú y tus amigos cantáis muy bien. You could also put cantan. You and your friends sing very well. I didn't specify Spain, so I don't really care if you use the vosotros form or the ustedes form. Okay. ER and IR verbs. ER and IR verbs are almost exactly the same. They're grouped together pretty often because they are so similar. The present tense, they're a little bit different, but in every other tense that we get to this year, they will be the same. They'll have the same conjugations, so that's nice. So for both of them, it's o-as-a, sorry. So drop the ER, drop the IR, o-as-a. And then for ER verbs, amos, ace, and N. And this is pronounced like an ace of spades, ace of hearts, ace of diamonds, a. And again, your accent mark is on the first vowel. And then for IR verbs, these are the two forms where it's different. It's emos or es. Okay? But the rest of them are the same. Okay? Down below, you have a short paragraph. I want you to read through that paragraph. I want you to pick the correct verb, pick the verb that makes the most sense, and then conjugate that verb appropriately into that little story. It's from a postcard. Okay? It's from a girl named Carolina. It's to her friend Amalia, and Carolina is in Caracas, Venezuela when she's writing this. Okay? So I'll leave this up here. Go through, pick the right verb, conjugate it the right way, hit play when you're done so you can check your answers. Oh, look at that. I didn't take off my IR verb chart. I'll take that out of here because I changed it. Okay, so you're going to fill it in. Hit play when you're done. Okay, number 1. Elena y yo estamos en Caracas. Elena and I are in Caracas. Nosotros corremos todos los días. We run every day. Y comemos muy bien. We run every day and we eat really well. Los estudiantes aquí comen mucha pizza. They eat a lot of pizza. It would not make sense to say they read a lot of pizza. If you can read pizza, you got interesting skills. Y beben mucho café. And they drink a lot of coffee. Ellos leen muchos libros. They read a lot of books. Again, it has to be later because you don't drink books. Y escriben mucho también. And they write a lot as well para las clases, for the classes. Okay, las clases son difíciles, pero me encantan. The classes are difficult, but I love them. En la clase de español, leemos revistas, we read magazines, y cuentos en español, and stories in Spanish. Elena comprende muy bien. Elena understands very well, pero para mí es un poco difícil, but for me it's a little hard. Tengo que estudiar. I have to study. Hasta luego, tu amiga Carolina, your friend Carolina. Okay? Remember, we are pronouncing every letter every time. So even though with like leer and leen in English, we would only pronounce one of those E's. In Spanish, we have to pronounce both of them. Leen, leemos. Okay? And those are for your regular verbs. Regular verbs mean that they're always going to follow the same rules every time. And then we're going to get into some of these irregular verbs. Let me look at your notes ahead of time. How much practice do I have on here? Yeah, we're going to end this. I'm going to end this video here. And then I will pick it up in the next video. This series for like this review notes is probably going to be multiple videos, but don't get overwhelmed. You don't have to watch them all. And if you're in class, you don't have to watch them, period. Like, you don't have to watch them all at once. But if you're not in class, if you're not in class, but if you're in class, you don't have to watch them at all unless you just want a refresher. All right. I'll pick this up in a minute. Have a good day. Adios.